The end of the Medicaid rebalancing plan came after an intense lobbying effort from the Oklahoma Council on Public Affairs and the tobacco industry. OCPA is a right-wing think tank that holds sway with many Republicans in the legislature. The Medicaid rebalancing plan was included in the cigarette tax bill. It was killed by labeling it as expanding Obamacare.
Rebalance or out of balance. The Oklahoma Healthcare Authority's plan proposes accepting President Obama's Medicaid expansion under the guise of rebalancing. In OHCA's current proposal, why it hurts the most vulnerable and the disastrous impacts Medicaid expansion is having in other states.
Once the plan was pulled from the cigarette bill, House and Senate Democrats dropped their support for the entire proposal.
We do not have enough Republicans in the House to pass this plan if every single Republican votes for it. We have to have support of Democrats, and this is not a partisan issue.
Nonetheless, House Speaker Jeff Hickman and others urged voters to call Democrats to urge them to change their mind. Governor Fallon had a broader message.
That's why I'm calling on the legislature, whether you're Republican or Democrat, to find the solutions to our problems that we're facing.
The House decided to vote on House Bill 3210 anyway, and it fell far short of the supermajority needed for passage. In fact, it didn't even get a simple majority. That resulted in the House leaving the vote open until late into the night, hoping something would change. It did not. House Minority Leader Representative Scott Inman says it is unfair to label this as just the Democrats' fault.
So what you see today is an additional political game being played by the Republican majority, who knew full well they didn't even have 50 votes in their own caucus, let alone 76 in the House, to accomplish what they wanted to accomplish.
In fact, he says it's certain members of the state Senate who are reacting out of fear that set the wheels in motion for the current stalemate.
But because they're so afraid of the far right and OCPA and all of the ridiculous commercials that they and Big Tobacco have been running for the last week, they won't stand up and do the right thing, and so they'd rather do a political stunt like you see today.
House Speaker Jeff Hickman also had to admit that the House of Representatives has already voted for the Medicaid rebalancing plan.
The House signed out an Insure Oklahoma plan that is sitting in the Senate, but there's not been movement on that part of the issue over there.
And the governor agreed that Republicans in the Senate share some blame.
Absolutely. Well, it takes all of us working together. It's three different bodies, a three-legged stool. It's the House, the Senate, and the governor's office that negotiates the budget.
But now Speaker Hickman says it is apparent to him the rebalancing plan is dead.
Which is not a viable option and not a position that we're able to get. When you look at other states that have done the Medicaid expansion, it's costing them millions more than what was anticipated, and our position has been that we're not going down that path.
There is, however, an even bigger issue at play. Without the cigarette tax, in order to avoid a 25% cut to Medicaid providers, set to take effect in just a few days, what State Representative Doug Cox, who is also a doctor, says would be draconian cuts made to the rest of state government.
This line is not just on the House budget, it's also on the governor's budget. This line is also on the Senate budget. So right now, without this cigarette tax, this budget is in peril. The governor's budget is in peril, the state's in peril.
The legislature only has until Saturday at midnight to pass a revenue bill of any kind. Under the Constitution, all revenue bills must begin in the House and cannot be dealt with during the last week of the legislative session, which ends May 27th. That means if there is no solution, Governor Fallon says a special session is on the table.
I will stay here as long as we need to. I've got June available, and so if they want to stay past the end of the legislative session, which will be the end of May, I'm more than happy to do that.